What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chris Hillman, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Dick Earth Skeptic, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, Godrockin, Henrik86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Missouri Bear, Muted, NA Literalist, Nathan Thompson, Nigh Rob H, Skeptic936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. Now we are joined by a couple of people in Discord, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Have you listened to it?
I heard you the first time.
I know that, but have you re-listened to it?
No, I'm saying when you came in before, I heard you.
Yeah, but my earpiece wasn't working. I was going directly through the iPad.
I got you.
Have you re-listened to the Al-Biruni piece with Rumpus?
Which one was that?
The one from the other day. He just put it up.
No, I didn't watch anything today.
Are you not subscribed? Do you not get notifications?
Yeah, I do, but I didn't watch anything today.
Okay. Well, you were there. You heard it because you were on it. Scaredy cat.
But that's the one I've been waiting for.
Well, I'm telling you, but it's already out. It just came out. Good edit job too. Perfect.
Is that the one where he asked me in Discord, Neil, did anything come through? Oh,
yep.
Okay. Yeah, that was hysterical.
It's the lowest form of defense the globe has is Rumpus.
Well, you want to hear something? I was going through 24/7 Discord, on YouTube to see, because I heard QE was on with Zanuck, destroying Zanuck last night, because I've been wanting somebody to get on his ass with that Coriolis. So I'm searching through it, and I stumble across Rumpus on one of them, but he's not on the arena because they broke it down to the arena, Flat Earth Arena, and then they also have, like for new people coming in. So he was the new person one, and he couldn't figure out how to get to the other one. But this is what it is. Nobody wants him around anymore.
I think we're done with him, Zanuck. If all they're going to do is come and spew nonsense, and then once shown it's nonsense, not concede that it was a failed argument in defense of their point, and then they keep coming in doing the same thing with other topics, and then ad hom, and then lying on top of that, what's the point? We have enough shows of those things.
But I wonder, because we know the truth, so no matter what he says as he's saying it, it's not making sense. But what about people that are like on the fence or just new to it? He'll sound like he knows what the hell he's talking about.
Well, that's why they come. They come to fog it up and to use language that is circular in reasoning. And Nathan, on this last excerpt, the one we're talking about, totally took him in his own little drain circle and brought him back. But we've got enough of those. It's just they need us to survive. Now, if they go on the Ball channel and they argue within themselves, who cares? They need to debate a flat earther. Well, when they debate a flat earther, the flat earther makes a good point. There's got to be a concession by them. And similarly, the other way too. If they make a good point and we happen to be off on the meaning of it or how it works, then we need to make a concession. But they never make any concessions.
Yeah. But I don't think
So
anybody
what's-
does it as good as Nathan, to be honest with you.
Well, that's why we're on the show, because he's demolishing them. He knows the fallacies. He knows why they're saying what they're saying, and then he leads them along the way, and then they fall into their own trap. Then he shows them to be false, and then they never concede. Then they start, rumpusing discord or whatever, and then they get ugly at times, and Nathan loses his temper at times. I mean, it's how much more? Let's make them come with manners, or they don't come at all. And we don't need them to have a discussion. We can just talk among ourselves and read articles and pick on the bigger boys like Michio Kaku and Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox and start baiting them by using their articles and their words.
Well, my team was you and Paul, Alwyn and Chocolate, Huey and Nathan.
Well, you could only have one.
No, I had 3 tag teams. Nathan and
I
Huey.
know.
You had to...
I tried that. I tried that too, but they wouldn't let me. They said, no, you got to pick the best one. I said, okay. Nathan and Huey are the best ones.
No, but they had backup crews.
No, it wasn't backup crews. It was somebody else's. It wasn't backup crews. It was somebody else's top choices that you're saying are the backup crews.
Right. I mean, if I have to go down the list, that's it. I would definitely pick Huey and Nathan. Destroy anybody.
So that's
anybody.
Right. So now I'll ask you a question. If you had a second team, what would it be?
That's what I'm saying. It would be either you, Chocolate and Alwyn, or you with Chocolate, or Paul and you with Chocolate and Alwyn. So I got those.
My second team was.
I was going to say it's a case of working out who would be complementary with each other. So in other words, who would work well off each other's back, as opposed to who's the best debater. Because QE complements me very well in terms of he's right on the spot with all of his citations, and in terms of keeping track of what's being said and how it's being said and unraveling it, I'm good at that as opposed to citations. So because we complement each other really well, he's definitely an information resource, which I'm not. But likewise, if you take, say, example, Arwin and Chocolate, they really complement each other. Arwin's very, very upfront. He can be laid back. I don't want to sort of stereotype him, but you know what I mean? He's a bit more aggressive at times. Chocolate, on the other hand, is very laid back, more than happy to just drop that killer point in now and again, whereas Arwin generally wants to have the mic. So I would say that Chocolate and Arwin would really complement each other in a 2-on-2 debate situation, whereas I think Paul and Arwin wouldn't. They'd get on each other's nerves.
My second team was Paul and Chocolate.
You could put Chocolate with anything.
Yeah, that's true. And then if gravity was the topic, it was definitely Sleeping Warrior. No doubt.
Sleeping Warrior is just a general good all-rounder. I would have put him actually first, but he was asking me the question. That's the honest truth. You can't really say to the person asking you, who would you say is the best debater? Well, I'd say you, you're so ace. Oh, no, I'd say you, you're amazing. No, I didn't want to do that with him. But Sleeping Warrior, don't underestimate. Sleeping Warrior is not just a good debater. He's normally 4 steps ahead of the person he's debating. Now, that's sometimes at a disadvantage to him because he's 3 or 4 steps ahead. If his points cut off or he's rumpused, that gets lost in the ether, which does irritate him, I know. But ultimately, Anthony's a very, very smart debater.
Well, as seen when he debated those 2 college kids live on the street, that was phenomenal what he did. Because they were jumping all over the place.
There's a lot of skill in terms of debate here, and I can't speak for everyone, but certainly Chocolate's said this, and I'm going to say it myself as well. I had no desire to end up in a debating format. That wasn't something that I'd anticipated doing. I was in an environment that was making videos about flat Earth, and I wanted something unique that had longevity. So while I'm trying to achieve that as my goal, debate seemed to fit into those sort of the criteria that I'd need to achieve that. But it wasn't like I really want to be a debater, because at the start I had absolutely zero skill in debating at the beginning. So Chocolate said the same thing many a time, which is to say, look, I had no desire to end up being, some really shit hot debater. The fact that he is, it's just like, that's just the way it goes, isn't it? You fall into these things and suddenly find you've got an aptitude for something you hadn't even got a clue or didn't really want to be doing.
Well, if you have some rules to it, like I don't mind debating. I rather not, because people don't follow the rules I'm about to lay down. And the rules for debating is one topic at a time, and the loser must concede before moving to the next topic. You can't move on to another topic without one side saying to the other, your argument's better than mine, I concede, but can I have a chance for another day with more research? Yeah, that's fine. Let's move on. Even that would work. But at least at the moment, with the current back and forth, the loser must say, you got me today, but can I come back and do a rain check on this? I'll concede for the moment. You have a better argument than me. I do concede that. But can I come back with some research? And if I come back and I can't, then you win forever.
To my knowledge,
yeah, that ain't happening.
Oh, you say that ain't happening. It's happened. So, to my knowledge, there might be somebody who corrects me. If I'm wrong about this, I'd like to know, because I'd like to actually document these specific examples. But to my knowledge, there's only 2 examples that I can think of. Might be more. One is Stingray Dean, who made a concession. He was giving an example about a globe Earth. He gave his model. Ranty pulled it apart and explained that his model didn't match the reality that we had as photographed, and he conceded. The other one was only recently, and that was Spider Daddy. He did the same. Conceded. Went through the logic of what he was claiming and how it didn't work, and conceded that it could not work. But those are the only 2 examples off the top of my head that I can think of.
Yeah, and I was there for Spider Daddy, but I wasn't there for Stingray. So 2 in how many years?
3, 4 years.
That's what I mean. The Globers will never concede.
Well, this is why I like the way Nathan cuts them off at the legs, because until they're willing to go point by point per argument, because if you listen to the shows, they'll start off with this topic, and before you know it, they're on 5 others because they lost so bad on that one. They don't want to concede, but they want to now move on to some red herring or something else so that they look good. And then, Nathan, at least for the time I've been here, realizes what they're doing. And he says words like, oh, you're sensing you're being demolished, so you want to move on. No, you're not moving on. I'm holding you right here.
Or suckle your balls.
Now, why do you have to bring up...
No, there's context to that. If somebody who we're awaiting a concession from, as per this example by 10th Man, demands that I give them an answer to a new question, that's unreasonable. So my juxtaposition is to say, well, I can make unreasonable demands too, but my unreasonable demand is overtly unreasonable to highlight their unreasonable demand. For example, but not limited to, somebody who comes here who I do not know, have owed nothing and will probably never owe anything to ever, demands that I meet them somewhere else. And I say, why? Now, without juxtaposing it with them sucking my balls, I'm saying, why do I owe you anything? What's in it for me? And normally, what they've offered is a load of ad hominem.
Suckle your balls.
Yeah. In other words, if you think that I should kowtow to a load of demands that you've got, you need to meet me here. Well, why do I? I don't owe you anything. No, because you're a coward if you don't. I don't care what you give me in terms of ad hominem. What's in it for me? That's how you appeal to somebody if you're trying to negotiate with them. And when they continue, I say, okay, suck my balls. I'm not going to do that. Well, right, but I need to do what you're demanding.
It was suckle.
Suckle, yeah.
You asked to suckle your balls.
Yeah, you've said that 4 times, and I've given you an explanation of the juxtaposition between an unreasonable demand and my overtly unreasonable demand of that,
like
and now you're interrupting me while I've summarised it 4 times. Are you going to repeat the same thing for a 5th time over the top of me? Is that what you're going to do whilst talking through me?
You can suck my balls, fucker.
No need.
It sounds like you've had a long time to think about this, Nathan. And this juxtaposition is just your excuse for asking someone to suckle your balls.
Shut the hell up.
Can't get this guy out.
Right. So, sorry, let me get it straight. I've been giving you an explanation, and your rebuttal to that is to divine my thoughts with your crystal ball about what I'm thinking and feeling. Is that
My
your rebuttal?
crystal balls.
Yeah, now you seem to be being rude. Is there any particular reason for this vulgarity? Mine has got a justification.
His wife don't let him swear in the house, so he's got to do it here.
I don't have a wife, mate.
So is there any point in this?
No.
No, it's just pre-show. I'm just having a little chat, you know. Sorry.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, it's just a juxtaposition between other people making unreasonable demands of people that owe them nothing. That's the point.
Well, on to my point. If someone says level is curved, or curved is level, or straight is horizontal, there is no possible way you can enter a debate with a person that redefines the meaning of words. Impossible. Because they'll just make stuff up in the debate as you go, and you'll never get anywhere. So the truth has to be the guideline. So give me a dictionary or some kind of explanation what that word means, and let's validate it with 2 more entries. So we got 3 entries saying straight is horizontal, flat, and they're saying no, it's curved. Well, it's over right there. There's no need to talk to that guy because you're just going to waste your time. He doesn't even know what straight is. I mean, there's a vetting that has to happen before you debate anyone if it's going to be a real debate. Or it's a wasted conversation. I mean, it's fun because they look silly, but it's a wasted conversation.
Have a listen.
You're probably going to have to debate experts in the field, aren't you, to settle this matter?
Yeah, we have. We've taken apart numerous different PhDs and Harvard graduate types and professors.
What were you going to suggest,
I haven't
Nathan?
heard it.
Oh, right. Well, that's fascinating.
No, I'm just saying that I haven't heard it, so that's why I thought maybe you've got to
I don't care.
debate.
Sorry, this is an argument from ignorance. Don't care what you have or haven't heard. You were under the impression we hadn't taken apart PhDs and professors. We have. There you go. Now you're informed. Don't worry about what you have or haven't heard. You're now informed. We have.
Yeah, no, I was apologising, Nathan, for my...
You seem disingenuous to me.
Yeah, extremely.
Where do you stand anyway?
Are you divining my ingenuity?
Yes, I am.
I'm actually divining strength.
Nathan told me off for that before.
Anyway.
What were you going to say, Nathan?
Say, did you want to have a listen to the clip from yesterday?
Yes, I do.
Was measuring which horizon?
The dip angle to the horizon, yeah.
No, not the dip angle to the horizon. I asked which. You said there were several.
Yeah, he was trying to measure the geometric horizon, but...
Oh, he was trying to measure the geometric horizon, but you've made it explicitly clear that it cannot be seen and only exists in maths.
He was trying to measure the geometric horizon.
Yes, I understood that. He's trying to measure a geometric horizon, something that you say we can't see. It's just some point that doesn't demarcate land and sea. It's not a demarcation between land and sea, so how can he possibly be measuring it? I don't really understand how something that cannot be seen and only exists in maths anyway is going to be measured by Al-Biruni. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's within 5% of the gym.
Of a horizon that's geometric, that can't be seen. It's in 5% of something that can't be seen.
The geometric horizon is just a position, doesn't demarcate anything, but it's close enough.
So it doesn't demarcate anything, we can't see it, but Al-Biruni was trying to measure it, correct?
Yeah, he was trying to find...
Yeah, so he was trying to measure something that he couldn't see. That makes no sense.
But it was because he knew it was close to.
He knew it was close, so he's measuring something he can't see, but he knows all about it, though, right?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. He can't see it.
It's within 5%.
Within 5% of the assumption of a geometric horizon that gives you an effective horizon. He hasn't measured it yet, mate.
He's measured the dip angle.
To the geometric horizon that he can't see. You see how we're going round in circles, ladies and gentlemen? You see, Al-Biruni needs a physical geometric sphere edge to measure. And according to these fundies in the trenches, he can't see it.
Well, it's not apparent. I mean, it's not...
It's not apparent, so he can't see it then.
Lovely.
Classic.
Well, see, now that was so devastating. It's over. I mean, whoever. Hang on.
Was that not live?
No, mate, that was yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It just
so that
nearly
was so
blew my eardrums
devastating.
out.
But he wouldn't concede.
Can adjust me in your Discord server. Just hover over me and turn me down. And then everything that comes from me or G Plus or the PC that I'm playing something from will be quieter for you. So just adjust me locally in Discord if I'm too loud.
Oh, yeah, I'll do that then. Yeah, you are quite loud. It's probably my settings. And I'm not very good on this.
That's all good. Me neither. I haven't got a clue. Other than this bit that you're in now, I have no idea what goes on in Discord. I don't like it very much, if I'm honest. I don't like Discord. No offence.
So Rumpus kept claiming that Al-Biruni got close, and he gave a figure within 5%. He can't even validate that.
The bottom line with that is, if he's going to be measuring a geometric horizon, he's going to need to see it. That's
Correct.
That's it. So
Well, in all my
not...
experience in measuring, you need to see something that you're measuring. You can't measure to nothing.
Yeah, so that leaves them with a big problem down here at trench level. We do not see the geometric horizon. Well, then what the hell was Al-Biruni measuring? He's not going to get R unless he can measure a geometric horizon. That would be the tangent point that gives you R. That's what he's getting from his measurement. So it must be geometric measurement. Not, oh, well, he kind of is. He was within 5%. No, he must be measuring the geometry if he's going to get R from it. And we do not see
wasn't
the
he just
geometric
estimating
horizon.
Wasn't it just an estimation of that?
Pardon? Wasn't it just a what?
An estimate?
He's supposed to be measuring the R value.
Yeah, but he conceded it wasn't going to be 100%.
What, the geometry that he's measuring?
Yeah, but real world geometry is not always 100% accurate.
Right, but he's definitely trying to measure geometry then, i.e. he's definitely trying to measure the geometric physical.
He's trying
My bad, I'm talking. Interrupt me again before this show starts and I'll just kick you out. What happens is I answer you and you talk through me. So that's not going to be tolerated. Do it again, you're going to be kicked out. So, he's deriving radius values. That's a geometric value of R. So he must be measuring geometry. That's what he's doing. That's the function of what he is trying to perform. Not, well, he kind of knew he wasn't going to be accurate. He's supposed to be trying to, according to Rumpus, measure the geometry. Now, that doesn't change the fact that every single one of you guys here at Trench Level are telling us, without any uncertainty, that we can't see that. So something you say we can't see, if we can't see it, Al-Biruni couldn't see it, and he's supposed to be measuring it. That's a massive problem, because that's where you get R.
Is it my turn now? Take that as a yes. Well, I think you are measuring at R, but you've got to concede that there's going to be a bit of an error, haven't you?
Sorry, an error? He can't see it. A bit of an error? I'm going to measure that unicorn. You can't see it. Well, there's going to be a bit of an error in my measurement of this unicorn we can't see. He can't see it. That's according to you guys, by the way. That's according to you guys on the Globe side. That's what we're told by your best of the best AB science. We cannot see the geometric horizon. Well, neither can Al-Biruni. Do you want to get around that somehow? Or just keep telling me how inaccurate it is when it's claimed that he can't see the thing he's supposed to be measuring?
He can see a geometric horizon with...
Yo, fuckwit. No, he can't. You fuckwit idiot. Don't just tell me that he can see it. No, he can't. We're told by every one of you fuckwit fundies how much he can't see it. We do not see the geometric horizon. Do you think you're going to get away with just telling me he can? When we're told by every one of your fundy idiots that he can't see it? Don't just tell me he can. He can't.
Are you going to concede?
He can see it with...
Yo, moron. I'll say it for a second time. You're a moron. We are told by your fundy rhetoric idiots of a globe that he can't see it. Now, what, you're going to just defy that and tell me he can? Yeah, he's supposed to. So, why are we being told he can't by everyone else except you?
I didn't say you could see it.
You just said twice, he can see the geometric horizon. You're now a liar.
With a plus or minus error.
So he can't see it. It's not geometric that he's measuring to. Rumpus conceded that. He wants to. He needs to. He must be. He's deriving R from it. But he can't see it.
How can you put a plus or minus error to
you can see it plus or minus an error.
See what? Plus or minus an error to something we can't see? Has he got a plus or minus error to something that's not visible? How can you get a plus or minus figure from something that's invisible and cannot be seen? How can you know that you're within plus or minus 5% of it if you can't see it?
What are you on about?
Yeah, but I don't understand what you're saying.
No, I know you don't understand. You're a moron. How can you get within 5% of something you cannot see?
That's a bit...
I'll ask again for a third time, see if this fuckwit moron who's just told me he can see the geometric horizon, we're simultaneously told cannot be seen, is not visible, cannot ever be seen. I want to know how you can get within 5% of that.
What I'm saying is you never see the actual horizon, do you?
We know we don't see your globe Earth edge. That's the geometric horizon. We know we don't see that. We're not on a globe. But I'm asking you, the moron, how you think you can get within 5% of something you can't see.
Good job I turned your flipping volume down, Nathan. You should...
Yeah, that's a criticism of my show and how I talk. That's an ad hom, effectively. I'm asking you for, what is it now? The fourth or fifth time I've lost track. How is it possible that you think we can get within 5% of something that cannot be seen?
Time to start the show.
You said 5%.
Maybe a criticism of the show after this stony silence. Maybe ad hom me.
You just being ad hominem me, mate.
No, I asked a question. How is it possible that you, the moron, and it's moronic to think that you can get within 5% of something invisible, well, I can get within 5% of the scale of this unicorn. I can't see it, but I can get within 5% of that. That's moronic. You are a moron.
Yeah, but a unicorn's not the horizon, is it?
Yeah, and the geometric horizon we can't see, and you think we can get within 5% of it.
I say we see the geometric horizon.
No, we don't. All of your fundies are telling us quite specifically, with a hand wave, quote, we do not see the geometric horizon. That is a rebuttal to the fact that we've demolished it with this argument called the black swan. So we've demolished that we've got a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon with the black swan, and the rebuttal is that we don't see the geometric horizon. Now you're a moron who's telling us we do, even though I had to spend half an hour with Rumpus explaining the differences between apparent, astronomical, local and geometric horizons, plural, even though we only have one horizon. And the horizon we see, the one Al-Biruni measured, isn't geometric. We can't see that. But you, a moron, thinks that even though we can't see it, it only exists in maths, that something visible, which is not geometric, can get within 5% of something we never see. That is moronic.
Whoa, volume check. Volume check.
He is narking. He is fucking idiot.
What?
He's
Time for the show.
pretending to.
Yeah,
Somebody's
he's
skipping on
pretending
straw.
he's snoring.
Sorry, just let Ryan get his piece out. What's up, Ryan?
I was just saying he's.
He was snoring all the time when he was talking.
Well, he was actually
Oh.
sucking on a straw.
It was just drumpusing so that communications got shut down. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's what they do. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man. Who else we got? Arwin and Brian. Brian's Logic. Is that it in Discord? Yeah. Oh, and also a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good
Good morning. Good morning.
Wow, you're late. You got preoccupied.
Light water. Can you pop yourself on mute, please? Yeah, we had a chap in the pre-show, so this will come out for those of you watching live tomorrow. So it's Wednesday today. This will come out on the second channel Thursday, or if you're a channel member, once this conversation has been concluded live and the after show's over, I'll release this show immediately to channel members of Nathan Oakley 1980. However, the pre-show had a chap on that basically wanted to go through Rumpus's demolition because I've just released a video about Al-Biruni not measuring Earth curve, and we went round very briefly the circle that Rumpus took us in, only for this fundy to double speak us between having a geometric horizon, which we cannot see, and seeing a geometric horizon which we cannot measure. So there's a fundamental problem at the moment with the globe Earth logic, which is in the form of a black swan argument, and the black swan argument has demonstrated that we do not have a geometric horizon. Their rebuttal is, well, no, we don't have a geometric horizon. We do. We just don't see it. So their rebuttal to the black swan argument is we don't see the geometric horizon. So we're now asking, well, if you don't see it, how are you going to measure it? Precisely as Al-Biruni has claimed to do. And the answer is you can't. So that's a very real problem for them. They don't like it. It seems like Rumpus is getting shunned as a result of it because he didn't win at the end of his time here. It was just demonstrated admirably with his definitions of what horizons were and were not, i.e. we have a separate, apparent, visible horizon and non-visible, non-apparent geometric horizon. Well, given that that's the case, and according to them we've got two horizons, one of which is not geometric apparent, which is visible, and that's what Al-Biruni measured, he didn't measure geometry. He didn't acquire R precisely as he's claimed to do, and that's a big problem if you've got an R value you need to assume everything about your worldview. Hey, Chocolate Sane. Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
But they only need to think that he measured R, though.
He didn't. He measured an apparent horizon, which is not geometric, so he ain't getting an R value from it. Big problem if your rhetoric has an R value, which it does. It's just been debunked by the Black Swan, and you're falling further into the pit of we don't see that which we require to block boats and buildings by hand-waving and saying we don't see the geometric horizon. All right, well, that's a bad thing if you need it blocking boats and buildings. Anyway, hello, I keep calling you Chocolate Sane. Hello, Sleeping Warrior.
Howdy. I was enjoying your premiere before, Nathan, the Scaredy Cat one.
Yeah, that's the rebuttal.
To represent science. He didn't do very well at it, did he?
Rumpus did extremely poorly, and he's being shunned by his own side as a result of that. Not that he could ever have gained a win out of this situation. We only have one horizon. The horizon in your sphere Earth geometric model isn't the one we see. That's neither visible, it's only in existence in the maths, which is very much our point.
Well, what I'm going to do, Nathan, I'm going to give a plug. We had a meeting with Rumpus ourselves recently. Me, Bev, Emma UK, and a few others. I'll just spam it in text a minute while I describe this. Basically, what happened was Kosho made an error. And that wasn't a big error. It was just a little error. But it was one of those errors that you just concede and just say, oh, do you know what? Yeah, I got that the wrong way around. And you move on from it. It's not a big deal. But because ballers won't ever concede ever that they've made a mistake, Kosho wouldn't concede. So the more he was reluctant to concede and move on, the more it became an issue. And it was to do with triangles, oddly, because I'm known for triangles. And I looked at this issue that he presented, and it doesn't matter what the topic was. It was just questioned one part of his labeling of his diagram because it looked like it might be wrong. So we all had a little look into it to see whether it was wrong or not, and it was wrong. So Rumpus was called in to correct Kosho. Rumpus came in, and rather than correct Kosho with what is an extremely trivial error, but not a big error, but a trivial error, Rumpus found a little bit of weasel room to argue that Kosho was right if you change one of the facts. And we said, well, don't change one of the facts. Deal with what's presented and tell us, is he right or not? And we knew he wasn't right. And Rumpus wouldn't deal with the expressed triangle that was drawn. He inferred the other triangle, the reflected triangle or the inverted triangle that was not drawn, and said, if you go with that angle, then it would be okay, which nobody was challenging. But because he wouldn't concede that that Kosho was incorrect, we spent about an hour arguing over why would he not concede, because he shouldn't be protecting someone when they make a minor mistake, because otherwise we don't get any accountability, we don't get any honesty from the opposition. And if they won't be honest with us when they make a really trivial error, because they won't concede ever, then how can you expect any of them to give you any honesty on something serious? And this is only to do with labeling a triangle. But because he wouldn't be honest and say, do you know what, Kosho's got that wrong, it should be the other way around, he allowed Kosho to think that he might be right if you infer the reflected or the inverted triangle, which wasn't the point that we were talking about. And basically, he did his own friend a disservice by basically not correcting him so that Kosho could learn something. Now, it's not that big of a deal. But if we're arguing over something, how can you have an honest discussion with somebody that won't tell the truth, won't concede a point that needed to be conceded? We spent an hour plus on it.
Just got a quick question.
And he wouldn't concede. So I'm just going to spam it again in text just so that people can stick it in the bookmarks and have a look afterwards. It's a really good example of how dishonest Rumpus is. Now, I happen to like Rumpus. I think he's one of the better ballers because I find him entertaining, wrongfully, but nonetheless he is entertaining. But he wouldn't concede. How can there be any conversation, guys, if the ballers won't ever concede any points ever? It's ridiculous.
Just got a quick question. You used a word, accountability. What does that mean?
It means if I make a mistake and I do a video on the wrong folk court because it was half cut on a Friday night and I didn't realise I hadn't spotted that it was the wrong bloke, I've got to delete the video. I've got to apologise and admit that I made a mistake. It's a minor mistake, right? And everyone knows it was a mistake. I just didn't spot it was the wrong bloke. But it's not that big of a deal. Okay, I deserve the bullets when they get fired my way, and yeah, I deserve it. But the same goes the other way around too. If you make an error, admit it so that we can move on. Don't defend it and defend it and defend it. Just say, I got it wrong. This is what it should have been. That way we all know that you're being honest. But it doesn't happen.
In a courtroom setting, how does this get defined in a courtroom setting? Accountability. What does that mean in legal terms?
Depends on how much of an issue it is. If it was played on and played on and played on, the judge would see it arguably in its worst light that you were trying to mislead the courts and trying to mislead the courts. And if you're doing that, it's the worst thing that you can do. But I mean, we're only trying to label a triangle, and it's not that big of a deal. But if you can't be honest with it when there's an error, how can we have any conversation, guys?
All right, I'm sorry to labour this. You say the problem would be that you, meaning the person that's in this example, not being perceived as credible, would be potentially deceiving the court. So
yeah, you can't mislead the court.
And what happens if you do?
Well, worst case scenario is you can be reported to the Solicitors Regulation Authority. You can be struck off if it's serious enough. It's seen as misleading. It's perjury, isn't it? It's misleading the court. It's one of the biggest things you can't do.
And what happens if you do?
At the judge's discretion to implement it, isn't it? It all depends on how serious they take it at the time, and it could be that your case is thrown out. It could be that you get punished in some other way. You might be removed by the judge for representation. It's serious. It's the biggest crime that you can make, isn't it?
Okay, and this applies to a specific individual.
Yeah, counsel. If you're representing somebody, in this case it was Rumpus representing Kosho, and he was basically in there to settle Kosho's error, which again wasn't big. It was only minor. But if he's in there to settle it, he should be settling it. He shouldn't be finding wiggle room to argue that Kosho might not be. Well, he might be right. He's right if you. It was a little bit sloppy. It was just wrong. We brought you in to settle it, and you didn't settle it, and you're supposed to be representing the truth.
Okay, so but at this point, if it was in a courtroom setting, my point is that an individual would be potentially punished, correct?
Correct.
And in this example, when we now move back away from the courtroom setting to this setting, are these people in any way accountable for anything ever?
Absolutely not. They're all anonymous. You don't know who Rumpus is.
That was going to be my next question.
What his name is.
That was going to be my next question. So they're just nobodies with absolutely no accountability. So lying and defending each other's lies, kind of inconsequential then, because there is actually no feasible punishment for these people.
Unless you just get removed from the scene for a while, and then you have to come back 3 weeks later when you've kept a low profile because everyone remembers. Where's Brenda, by the way?
Hold on, let's not deviate off this. My point is that in other scenarios, should you do this, there's consequences. But for the people who defend the Globe lie, there are no consequences when it reaches this stage. So they're essentially in a position where they are allowed or maybe even obligated, who knows, let's not try and divine their motivation, but in a position where they can lie through their back teeth with no consequences, basically.
Yeah, I mean, look at Fight the Flat Earth, for example. He had George Musa on his show to try and work out whether gravity was a force or not. Now, to this day, he still holds the position that George Musa supports him and told him he was correct. And we all know what he said. Gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force. We must think of Newtonian gravity as a force. Doesn't really mean it is a force, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level. Now, he thinks to this day that George Musa supported him, yet everybody that's got half a brain can see that he was being polite and correcting Craig and saying, like, for instance, when he said, yeah, I like the word manifests. That doesn't mean, yeah, that was the correct answer. That means, yeah, it wasn't quite right. But Craig can't see that because he hasn't got the experience of professional lingo to understand that the guy's disagreeing with him. He's just being polite.
Sorry,
if it was Nathan, he would have said you're a moron.
I agree with all of that. I'm not disagreeing, but my point is subtly different. So in the case of George Musa and Fight the Flat Earth, Craig, what's his surname?
Craig McNeil's a wanker.
What's his surname?
McNeil.
So we've got George Musa and Craig McNeil who have made these assertions, and should they be wrong, it affects their credibility as individuals.
Yeah.
Well, that is a consequence, isn't it?
Yes.
How is that the case with someone like Rumpus, Kosho, Zanuck?
It's not, is it? That's why the trolls exist on their side, to find out any snippet of information they can about you. Because if you suggest that the Earth might be a sphere, Operation Brian Mullen will take place and they'll take your job off you. But this is why these all hide behind anonymity, because they're scared to come out and be honest with each other, because they don't want to lose their jobs. They need to hide. Like it's like the troll under the bridge for Billy Goat's Gruff. That's what these people are.
I have a poignant
Operation Brian Mullen. I like that.
that was good. I like that.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, Chocolate. Hold on. Let's just say a couple of hellos to the new guests. So we've got Chocolate saying hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you. And also Brian. Go ahead.
Hey, I have a meme in Master B that supposedly, it's only off the internet now, but it supposedly is a quote from Albert Einstein that is very poignant to what you're talking about. If you want to have a look at it, Nathan, and share it.
Sorry, is it the?
Have you just put it in?
Master B.
Hello, guys. Hold on, Brian. Is it the Einstein thing?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll stick it up. It's up now.
Whoever is careless with truth in small matters cannot be trusted in important affairs. Now look at Einstein himself. I mean,
yeah.
The whole story for the whole narrative is wrong, isn't it? But they all pretend and act as though it's real. It just defies belief that anybody can realistically think that we can be breathing in a vacuum. It's madness.
Okay, well, we've all got a few issues up our chest and everything else. So I'm going to do a bit of housekeeping, even though we're 15 minutes into the show.
Mm-hmm.
Any evidence of a physical sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve?
Not from Al-Biruni's astrolabe.
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
No.
Yo.
Apparent horizon, geometric horizon, you don't see. Yeah.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Absolutely
no.
not.
Nope.
Planes prove that it can't be moving.
I'm leaving little pauses for you guys in Discord. Hold on. Fresh it. Wait 1 second, guys, in G+. Anybody wanted to add anything to that?
Did we just speak about Al-Biruni?
Yes.
All right, we're speaking about Al-Biruni. All right, so I like the way that current heliocentric proponents, the people that sort of push the model, they essentially stick to obviously what was found by Al-Biruni, and then they also like to play this game, don't they? What's this game they play where? Well, it's an apparent horizon. It's a geometric horizon. They like to shift the goalpost between the two. They like to invoke refraction as an axe that comes down upon our heads in order that we speak past one another. But then when I try and get them to, let's say, talk about the type of refraction or the effect of refraction, and thus the actual attributes that are, displayed by that effect of refraction, that's where we start to get a little bit murky, and that's where we start to actually pin these guys down. So, I think that's something that we need to really do. That was just my little thought at that time. Something I've been thinking about recently in other debates that I've been having. But yeah, great to be in the live stream, and
And
I was invited over by Chocolate.
Your name's Crack Villain.
Yeah, it's Crack Villain. I don't know who I'm
my boy
speaking
Crack
to.
Villain. Good to hear you over here, brother.
Oh, is that Chocolate?
Yeah, bro.
That's
Yes,
so
sir.
strange, because I thought I could hear more than one voice coming out of this Nathan Oakley character here. And but yeah,
Sounds like fighting talk.
yeah.
Yeah. Everybody on this panel will come through Nathan's on over there on Discord.
That's pretty sweet. That's pretty cool. I'm actually friends with you, Oakley, Mr. Oakley, on Facebook. But yeah, I'm yet to reveal my name on Discord. But Maybe I'll drop you a DM after this, let you know sort of who I am.
Cool, good stuff.
Sounds
yeah,
very cryptic.
man. Thanks for letting me be a part of the group. I appreciate it.
Yep, just to get us back on track. Nice chatting with you, though. Thanks for being here. We only have one horizon. The horizon in the globe Earth model is geometric, and their refraction, which is the point that you were making, is based on R. 7/6R. That's their refraction. It's a mathematical based geometric value. That's all it is. It's not actually based on any atmospheric conditions. It's worth talking about the bait and switch here. So if you're in debate with a fundy, Globehead, and they're skilled, they'll talk all about what atmospheric refraction is in terms of what's happening before your eyes. Now that is actual refraction. But the refraction that they're going to utilise when they talk about the globe isn't that. It's based on a geometric R value that's been derived from a point you cannot see to bend light around that point that you can't see at the rate of the point that the light has got in R based on 7/6R. So it's a complete nonsense cluster screw begging the question on steroids.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
Any evidence
I've experienced that.
Wait, what do you mean? It's not cool to use the R that you don't have to salvage the R that you don't have?
No.
Ah, all right, damn. All right, moving on.
I mean, there might be new evidence. Is there any evidence of R? Anybody?
Crickets.
You don't have an R, then you're not going to have the next one then. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Crickets.
They need R for that.
Yeah.
Ah, that's too bad.
In fact, they need R for everything. There is no example that will ever be put before you that doesn't beg the question of a sphere Earth as the presupposition. That will always be the case. If they're trying to prove that the Earth's a sphere, they will always, without exception, start with the presupposition that you're standing on a sphere to begin with. That's the only way they can prove it. It's the only way you can prove something that isn't true. Presuppose your outcome.
Indeed. I can actually post a diagram to which they apparently find the distance of close stars. You should have a little look at that come out of a science encyclopedia. We have obviously, well, we could say the left side is, we could call that west, for instance, the west side of the sun. We could say that the sphere on the right side is the east, for instance. They say they take a measurement, knowing obviously that they're 93 million miles away from the sun, and knowing that they are exactly, when they take the other measurement, right, on the exact opposite side of the sun, they then draw using, I think, if we look at this, it says about parallax, right? It talks about many different things, but essentially what they're trying to state is that they can, use, I think it's some form of cosmic radiation to bounce off of a nearby star from one position off on the left side of the sun, and then off on the right hand side of the sun, and then they use triangulation to find out the distance of a different sun. But guess what, guys? You don't have the R value of the globe that you're using to do this. So again, falls flat on its face.
Perfect. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
There's scientific evidence of relative density equilibrium, though. There is scientific evidence of that. You can prove that in your own home every day, all day. Anybody can do it. You can do it as a family together. You can do it. You can prove to yourselves that relative density equilibrium is a real thing. But you can't do that with gravity. There's no physical demonstration that you can do in your own home. But you can drop something and assert gravity as the cause.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Man? No.
No way.
Oh, there is
No.
actually one that I
No,
heard
not
earlier
yet.
that was brought up, which is called the axis of evil. The axis of evil is the alignment of 7 differing solar systems, right? That over 30 years they took observations of this. Since they've tried to create excuses to say that some of their calculations were wrong when they were actually based off of observations over 30 years. And a Glober actually turned around and said, well, that was 2005, that was old. I said, well, old in your books, my friend, is that we don't have the technology to get to the moon today, but we did back then. So what is old in that timeline or that, chronological order? That makes absolutely no fucking sense when it comes from the body of NASA. Both come from the body of NASA. And he's what axis of evil is fringe. Of course it's fringe because it completely goes against the idea of heliocentrism and pretty much debunks it, because it is an impossibility that we would have 7 or 6, I may be wrong, it might be 6, sorry if I am wrong, solar systems that aligned over many different observations. Using, I think, again, was a form of, of radiation waves. That was how they were computing the data that they got, which obviously, again, I've got issues with that. But it's just quite funny that this globe head didn't understand that the top proponents of his own model had damning evidence against what they purport to be true, yet he hand-waved it as fringe. And at the beginning of the conversation, when Wizard Slayer actually asked him, have you heard of the axis of evil? He said no, right? And then he proceeded to hand-wave it off as some piece of information that is absolutely non-contradictory, is non-connected, and is fringe. And he hadn't even done a Google search on it. And then when he had done a Google search on it, within the first, I would say, 32 seconds, he was an expert on the axis of evil.
That sounds
Brilliant.
about right.
Don't you love that though? When they become an expert on the thing you just told them about that they didn't know 30 seconds prior. All of a sudden you told them about it, they became an expert. Yeah. That's how that works.
Yeah, like I put out a video recently. And it's oddly, again, it was to do with Rumpus. If you have express mention of something, so like let's just say for argument's sake, the car park will only allow Volkswagen Golfs into the car park for free. All other people have got to pay, but because the guy that owns the car park owns a Volkswagen Golf, he lets Volkswagen Golfs go in for free, right? Nobody disputes that there are other makes and vehicles that are available, but if you happen to drive a Volkswagen Golf, you get onto the car park for free. But if you drive a Vauxhall Astra, you don't. Rumpus doesn't like that concept, because when it gives express mention for straight lines in the definition for perpendicular, Rumpus thinks that it implies that the lines don't necessarily need to be either lines or straight. They can be points of reference, and if they are lines, they can be curved. But express mention of one thing excludes other things, even though the other things may well exist. And that name's got that descriptive term title has got a name. It's a Latin phrase, and it's, in short, it's exclusio unius, and then something that I can't even remember off the top of my head. But I picked it up a long time ago, and it dawned on me that it applied. Well, nobody had heard that phrase before I mentioned it, and then suddenly everybody becomes a fucking Latin expert, because exclusio unius, suddenly everybody understands what it means. And I had everybody telling me what it means, and I spent years studying it back in the day, and it's something that was etched in the back of my mind and I'd forgotten about. But when Rumpus tried to include something that wasn't mentioned as though it was mentioned, I'm like, hang on a second, it doesn't mean that. But you're right, when you mention something new, the ball tards go away, they read it, they then tell us what is the correct interpretation based on their understanding, and they become an expert, but we're still dumb. It's amazing how that works. Nobody had heard the phrase until I mentioned it, and then all of a sudden everybody becomes an expert. It's ridiculous.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Yeah, this is where essentially I was taking them. So P waves and S waves and refraction. There you go. There's your answer from Kosho and Zanuck. Done.
P waves and S waves. Squiggles on a line on squiggles of lines on bits of paper is not evidence for what is the molten iron core.
Yeah, I know. I was a little bit angry at that answer, and the fact that it included refraction, I was just like, wow. That really took me aback a little bit, because I said, well,
Kosho said that, right?
core
He
is
said refraction. I was like, refraction?
I think
I
that's
was like,
like a
the core
literal
6,000
terrestrial
kilometers deep, and you proclaim to know the constitutes that thereof that it makes up iron and nickel. You know, the asthenosphere, the mesosphere, all of these different layers. You know, not only that, but you also are telling me whether they're liquid, soft, plastic, hard. You're telling me all these different variables when the deepest you ever dug was what, 12 kilometers deep, or 7.8 miles for other people listening. But you assumed to know, and that didn't even come out as you proclaimed it, because the Earth's crust, remember, is either 3 miles deep underwater or is 70 kilometers deep. Well, I'll go across actually 30 to 40 kilometers deep, depending on if you're on the landmass. The 3 miles deep is underwater, but you know, that's to get to the Earth's crust, for instance. The Earth's crust being 18 miles thick, for instance. Remember, the Earth's crust was actually established and developed, those 3 layers from the Earth's crust going downward, right? That was the 1700s, and then again from seismographs for the core was 1936 via a guy who was reading seismographs in New Zealand. So they were talking of technologies that, you know, essentially establish through seismographs apparent densities. But I'm sorry, all of these things were asserted in the 1700s and 1936. And in 1936, the same guy was establishing and saying that, yeah, it was iron and nickel in the core. And, you know, it's this temperature, and these are the mediums, and this is the viscosities of these mediums. And the deep koala super bore drill hole, like I said, the depth that it is 12 kilometers deep, or 7.8 miles. You know, they did not expect to find what they found. You know, they found liquid that was like honey that they could no longer drill into. And I believe it had a temperature, I think, of like 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And that does not add up at all with what we have been shown in these core models, for instance, right? So it's all complete conjecture, it's belief, it's religious, in fact. It's devoid.
Cool, thank you. Very informative.
Well said.
The bit that was unfamiliar to me, or I had only a very vague notion of, was this bit that you described when they got to the bottom. So what I read into it is that they'd drill, and then physically what they were drilling into would move away from them. Now, you've described it as being like honey, which is... I've never heard it described like that. Maybe you know more. It sounds like you know a lot more about this than I do in terms of what they actually hit when they got down to 7.9 miles or whatever it was, 12 kilometres. You're on mute, by the way.
They hit the membrane.
Vanished. You there, crack villain? Moving on. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
No.
Net container 0.
Still can't demonstrate it on Earth.
Yeah, it's just dumb.
Well, we can always hold out hope for this violation of natural law to be demonstrated to us. You never know.
Yeah, let me just add to the seismic point that he was on about with PNS waves before he dropped. They made seismology made 4 predictions in the Kola super deep borehole drill, And all 4 were wrong. You can look them up yourself and research them yourself, but one of them was that they predicted that there would be an increase in density in rock the further down they dug. And when they got down to a certain point, there was a decrease in pressure, a decrease in density of rock. They weren't expecting that. Another one was that they were expecting there to be a layer of transformic or metamorphic rock from basalt into something else, or from something else into basalt, whatever. The layer of transitional rock that they expected to be there turned out not to be there. There was some other explanation. I can't remember off the top of my head what it was, but the key point is that the 4 predictions of seismology about this drill hole, all turned out to be wrong. Yet that same seismology is what they use to predict the shape of the Earth based on P waves and S waves. It's all 4 predictions were wrong. It's just rubbish.
Morning, Paul.
Good morning.
Just missed out on the housekeeping, so that concludes it.
So then that's a contradiction then.
They don't know what's down there, and they can never demonstrate that they can acquire the knowledge of what's down there. So what they've claimed, P waves, S waves, demonstrated the contrary of what they assumed when they were digging the Kola Deep Sea. How do you say it? Kola Deep Borehole, right? Yes, Nathan. Yeah. So when they were digging that,
super deep, the Kola super deep borehole. Kola super deep borehole.
When they were digging the super deep borehole, they made predictions which did not come true. So this isn't a reliable source of information. It certainly doesn't prove we've got a molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Oh, what a coincidence. We just happen to have the graphic of Theia smashing into Earth at a glancing blow. Now, the result of this claimed event is that this planet on the right deposited its molten iron core into the fledgling Earth. Now, that means we've now got an oversized molten iron core, because obviously based on their timeline, it should have been cold by now, and it isn't. So what's the explanation? Well, Theia smashed into us. It was on a trajectory that was inevitably going to smash into Earth, and when it did, luckily, it only smashed into it at a glancing blow. And the debris from Theia went all out around Earth, but luckily, gravity coalesced it into the moon. Wouldn't you know? So that's why we've got, bits of bark being brought back from the fake travel through a second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum to gather up bits of wood that are already on Earth from the moon, according to them. And the reason it's the same is because basically the moon is Earth, because the moon and Earth are kind of a mixture of Theia and the fledgling Earth before they collided into each other, and the debris made the moon. And we got an extra big molten iron core. And it's true because they made it up themselves. Wouldn't you know?
I'm sure they got more science.
Those rebellious gas particles had to overcome all kinds of stuff, try to stay on there too, with that thing smashing in there too. I tell you, those rebellious gas particles, I tell you, they're pretty something else.
Yeah, that's the follow-up story, isn't it? It's like the sequel. So that's like the origin story, and then, further down that timeline, you've got the story of the rebellious gas particles. Obviously, Theia smashed everything off into all oblivion, and, the debris coalesced, but obviously they've then got to form gas with that planet that's got a big, kind of hole in it that's whatever. I don't know. That kind of makes no sense, but that's their story anyway. We'll go with it. Well, that's got to develop gas pressure, the stuff that we're breathing, right? Now, currently, you've got a very hot rock with all this debris flying around it that's apparently going to coalesce into the moon. But what about the gas? That's got to form at some point, right? Well, how's it going to form? Well, you need the story of the rebellious gas particles. The gas is produced at ground level after this all calms down. It flies up, and then it reaches this arbitrary point in the sky and says, you know what, I quite like it here. I'm going to stay. And they burn their bras in violation of the second law of thermodynamics, and they just stay where they are. Some of them just go back down again. And
but you're missing a very important point.
What's that?
This happens over millions and millions of years.
Yeah, I mean, the story continues. At some point in the current story of the rebellious gas particles, some of them say to the others that are just sort of disco partying at the Carmen line, and one of them will just randomly go back down again of its own volition, and they go, hey, what are you doing? And they go, I've decided that gravity's a force, so I'm going to just head back down again.
I love how my little joke has become now a whole narrative.
Yeah,
That's what happens.
Whole subcommunity, a
Do you want to put my
subculture.
screen on? Let me just like do a really quick presentation on them predictions of the seismology in the Kola super deep borehole.
I always thought it looked like a gigantic gobstopper.
Okay, you're
Yeah,
on,
that's a
Anthony.
good one.
You're on.
All right, so Kola super deep boreholes, 4 major predictions that seismology got wrong with the deepest hole known to man. Right, is it about 12 kilometers or 7 or 8 miles deep? And you can find these online. Just if you just type in these sentences, you'll find them online very easily. And this particular citation describes. Oh, I think I've just lost it now because I've just done that. Let me find it. It says one of the most surprising findings was the absence of the transition from granite to basalt, which scientists had long expected to exist between 3 and 6 kilometers below the surface. Known to geologists as the Conrad discontinuity, this transition in rock type was reasoned to exist due to the results of seismic reflection surveys, the same surveys that they claim is the shape of the Earth, right? It turns out that they didn't have it. They didn't have this rock, so what they thought was there turns out not to be there. So, oops, that was a mistake from seismology. And then this one as well, ZME Science. If you just type in these sentences here, you'll find them. 2019 article. There are 6 unexpected discoveries, right? A lot of water down there. Forget that. What's this one here? To cut miles into a whole new drill. Is this the one? No, it's not that one. Gases. The Earth has gas unexpectedly. Helium, hydrogen, nitrogen. So how does helium and hydrogen exist down there? The lightest of all the elements. How does that exist down there? Why is it not being bursting up to the atmosphere and evaporating? And it's under pressure and all that. That's an interesting one. But look at this. There's the no basalt reference again. Where is it? The seismic anomaly suggested that basalt was caused by metamorphosized granite instead. That's the same one. There's another one in here somewhere, but I can't find it now. I thought I had it straight, but I've obviously mixed it up. There's another 2 or 3 of them are in this article here. Let's see if I can find it really quickly. No, I can't find it off the top of my head. I thought I had it, but my point is that there are 4 key predictions that they got wrong. And if you just do a research, now that you know that they're, do a research for what the seismology predictions were, and you'll find that they got it wrong. Yeah, they tell us that P waves and S waves tell us the shape of the Earth, and there's no other way possible it could possibly be. That's just not true. Anyway, that's me done.
I mean, just because they were wrong, not even actually making it to like 8 miles, doesn't mean they're wrong about 4,000 miles down. Come on. Give them a shot. Give them a shot. They need a shot, man.
Yeah, I can't actually remember what the other predictions were now, but they are out there if you want to look into them. I'm happy that P waves and S waves don't prove anything, because they're subject to interpretation, and although you can put them into a computer and generate images based on it, doesn't mean that it's true, accurate, reliable. Because when they dug down and found out that a load of stuff was wrong, then it's a bit of an issue.
Right, quick shout out to Flat Earth Travolta, who says, "Where'd Sean Hawkins go? Can't chat spam is lonely with only rumpus. J-Trig budget cuts? Question mark. Thank you very much for the super chat, Flat Earth Travolta.
Yeah, rumpus is roaming around.
Hey, Anthony, if they can't even see the geometric horizon that's on their model in reality, how are they going to, and that's on the surface of their ball, how are they going to know what's inside it?
Well, that's the point, isn't it? P waves and S waves don't go anywhere near far enough to demonstrate proof. They're an interpretation of squiggles that you can put into a computer algorithm and get a picture, but it doesn't mean it's true. Boiling hydrogen mud, that was another one. They had boiling hydrogen mud, which they weren't expecting. Why? God knows. But the reality was that was something they didn't predict. It turns out that it was true. Oh, water at depths previously unheard of. They thought water only existed below up to a certain depth, but they found water much, much, much deeper than they expected. Why? Don't know, but it didn't come up in seismograph predictions. That's another one. There is a fourth one now, but it'll come to me over time.
I was going to say, you'll probably remember it quicker than you'll find it in the article.
I've not looked. I've just shut it. I'm just letting people know that the info's out there. It'd be nice if Rumpus joined and apologised for misleading people, though. He's in chat. Why don't you come in and say, Rumpus, that you misled everybody and say you were sorry. You didn't mean to mislead everybody. You were just wrong.
Anthony, did they say how far down that they are saying that hydrogen and helium is?
Say that again, mate. You're a bit quiet.
Sorry, did they say how far down hydrogen and helium is sitting? Like you said that they are saying that there's hydrogen and helium down there. Is that below the 8 mile distance?
Well, 8 miles the depth, the maximum depth, isn't it? It said. I'll see what I can find out about it. The hydrogen.
It's interesting that they might. It's interesting that they make those claims, or they make all kinds of claims. But it'd be interesting that they make those kind of claims, especially if it's below that distance.
Do we really know what they actually do, though?
Not really, no.
They'll make any claims that they think supports their model. The problem with their model is that reality doesn't support their model.
Yes, I agree, Hint.
That was the other one. They found microscopic bacteria down below a certain depth that they weren't expecting because they didn't think that any life could exist down there in terms of, like there's no light, there's no oxygen, there's no this, that, and the other that's needed that they thought was previously required for life. Yet they found bacterial growths and bacteria that's living down there that they didn't expect to exist.
I'm going to do a quick shout out again to Unitox Femu. He says, Biruni watching with Nikon. What a F. Why is so flat? Thank you very much for the super chat, Unitox Femu.
Reality is in complete agreement with the spherical model, Lumpus says. Oh, you mean that the Al-Biruni that was measuring the apparent horizon that he thinks he was looking at the geometric one, Lumpus? Is that the one that you're on about?
It can't be the same geometric horizon that Rumpus just told us the other day exists in the math.
Does Rumpus think that fluid dynamics is reality? Does water adhere to a ball? Is that reality, Rumpus? Or is that your model?
What about... Sorry, I thought you were finished.
No, go on.
Go on, Brian.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in the middle yet. No, just saying, what about what we just talked about? Where they had every prediction wrong for just 8 miles down. How does his model comport to reality if they can't even get 8 miles down? They're correct.
It doesn't.
That they're the people who made these claims about what was down there. Were all globers who were working off of a globe belief, and they can't even get that right. So, what's he talking about? Sorry, Nathan.
No, I was agreeing with you. Yeah, they haven't. They can't. They can't even get that right. What hope have they got? Well, none.
Rumpus.
Some newbies.
How does a superheated metal maintain its magnetic field under his model? How does that happen?
Anthony,
I think we're still waiting for Paul Voigt to come back with that.
Well, it's irrelevant.
Just a little bit longer.
The housekeeping question is: any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Are you around, Anthony? Can you cover this?
Sorry, what was the question?
Just want you to talk about the Curie point.
Okay, so when iron and nickel, the two main ingredients, the two main elements that are said to be in the molten iron core and the inner core and the outer core, these are meant to be the main elements. When they get heated beyond a pretty low point, I can't remember the exact figures, but I think one of them's 500 and I think the other one's 600 and something. Don't quote me on it. It loses its magnetism. Now, if the Earth's supposed to be rotating, creating the dynamo effect, which is supposed to be charging, like creating its own electric field or its electric current or whatever word you want to use to describe what it's supposed to be generating, it doesn't create a magnetic field that it can hold or even have by itself because it's gone beyond the Curie point. So the only way that it can possibly have its own magnetic charge is if it's inducted from an external source, which is not their model. Now, it might be like you could fantasize over what that external cause might be, But it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't self-generate its own magnetic field just because it's moving, which is what they claim it does, because it doesn't have the ability to have it because it's beyond the Curie point. Now, some people say, yeah, but it cools down as it gets towards the surface. Well, that may well be true, but where's the field that is generated when it's not got it in the first place? It can only be absorbed from an external source, like a plasma ball. When you put your hand on it and it shows like lightning. Now, I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's the way to describe how it might be. But that's not their model. So whether we speculate what we think might be doing whatever, doesn't matter. It's not their model. So their model requires an external induced source. And I don't know, Rumpus, I'm sure you can come in and say, well, it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't. We'll just redefine words. But that's what's required. Sorry.
The only actual perpetual motion machines that we're told actually exist is like the globe Earth and the solar system and all this. You know, they're all perpetual motion, aren't they? Yeah, but in reality, none of those things work. But then they'll tell us it's because we have an atmosphere. You know, how do we get that?
Well, but also the other side of the coin. Remember the egg experiment that I've showed on here a couple of times? I can't at the moment, where the hard-boiled egg and the raw egg, and how it does not, only the raw or the hard-boiled egg can maintain even some level of, constant spinning, but if it's non-cooked, it doesn't last very long. So if the Earth has molten would imply liquid. I know, Lily. I know. Hang on a second, real quick. I guess you guys, since you scream and you guys understand where I'm going, so someone else can explain it.
At least you're not being rumpus by Rumpus and it's a child.
Okay, she decided to be quiet. So if the egg will not perpetually spin when it's raw, the hard-boiled egg would more likely be that. And if molten means liquid, which means there's this liquid rock underneath our feet, how are we maintaining rotation under those conditions? Still don't understand that.
Make the conclusion. Don't phrase it as a question, Paul. Phrase it as a conclusive statement.
Okay, you cannot have a liquid molten core and maintain rotation. You cannot.
Thank you. Cool. That's the most.
And another egg experiment proves that. So, by the way, just to give a plug for Sleeping Warrior, another egg experiment.
Go ahead, Paul. Go ahead.
No, just another egg experiment. I was just giving Anthony.
Oh, I see. I see. In addition to Sleeping Warrior displacing an egg by adding salt to water, this is a different egg experiment, just for the humorous effect of that. Yeah.
You got it.
Coolio.
I guess that salt was a force, huh?
Nathan Oakley said he can't join because the Discord server's full.
Oh well. My heart bleeds. We don't need him. I know you're egging him on to come here.
We don't need him.
Chocolate.
He can't be on this anyway.
Salt is a force. That's why in the...
Sorry, 10th man, hold on. It's a gap now. He might join. So don't poison the well in case he does join.
No, this is for chocolate. Salt is a force because in criminal law, you go to jail for assaulting.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, man.
Roy.
Would that be assault and battery?
Yeah, that's the charges that people put against you.
Yep.
Right, can you clear the airwaves? I just want to hear Sleeping Warrior and Rumpus. Nobody else, please.
Hello.
Hello, good to have you. Thanks for joining.
How are we today?
Fairly not too bad, not too bad.
So about that geometric horizon, do you concede that it's apparent? It's not geometric after all? Al-Biruni couldn't have been measuring...
Hold on, we've covered this. I thought you were going to talk to him about the core. That's what he was talking about in chat. Don't just immediately change the subject on him, Anthony.
Sorry, I didn't realise there was a plan. So we want to talk about molten iron core?
Only because that's what you were talking about that he was discussing in the chat. So ideally...
Okay, so
notice how Nathan doesn't want to talk about horizons. It's very obvious there.
If you say so, Rumpus. If you say so.
Scaredy cat.
No. Okay, I don't mind summarising that point. Al-Biruni is supposed to be measuring geometry, and according to you, he's measuring an apparent horizon that isn't geometric. So he's not measuring geometry. Oh, I'm not scared of it. That was the point we ended on last time when you said scaredy cat through me about 100 times.
Scared.
Now you're talking through me. It seems you're talking through me. It seems that Rumpus is a scaredy cat. Because he definitely doesn't want to listen to and then respond to the fact that he said Al-Biruni's measuring an apparent horizon, which he made very clear isn't geometric. Therefore, Al-Biruni's definitely not going to derive geometry from that. He's going to talk through me, scaredy cat, scaredy cat, scaredy cat, scared to listen to my rebuttal. Same as last time, scaredy cat, scaredy cat. You can't respond to this.
Not a word. I can't speak at all. Oh, good. I'm going to get a chance.
No, I'm going to repeat my statement and then you're going to respond to it, or you can say scaredy cat. Those are your two options. Either respond to me with a rebuttal, or you talk through me. I don't mind which. So, you've expressly detailed that the geometric horizon is not the apparent horizon, and the only thing that you can derive geometry from would be the geometric horizon. You told us Al-Biruni's measuring the apparent horizon, so he cannot derive geometry from it.
He can, because they're very close together. If you go,
they're very close, so they're not the same. So it's not giving him geometry.
It's close enough.
Close enough? It's just good enough, Globe Fundies. You heard it here first. He's not measuring geometry. Apparently he's getting R from this measurement, but it's good enough.
For him, yeah.
For him, it's good enough. Yeah, just good enough to base an R value that you then use to bend the horizon into a different position. Good enough to base the refraction value of R on.
It's good enough for the 11th century.
Sorry, good enough for the R value that you're going to bend the horizon around with.
We don't use Al-Biruni's value now, Nathan. We've got.
Sorry, you use an R value, and he was deriving it.
Yeah, but we don't use the way.
Sorry, you use an R value, and that's what he was supposed to be measuring. Am I scared? I don't seem very scared.
You are.
Oh, really? I seem terrified while I point out that he couldn't have derived geometry because he couldn't see a geometric horizon. You've told us.
Everything I say.
Then how did he know he was close enough?
That he got
if you
couldn't R,
couldn't even see the geometric horizon.
Twat comes and interrupts. I could never get in at all.
Who cares? You've told us he measured the apparent horizon. And the only thing that's going to give him geometry is a geometric horizon, which he wasn't measuring according to you. They're very much not the same thing. You're being pummeled. Yeah, we give a crap about your bleatings. No, we don't.
More words.
We don't care about your bleatings. How many words you get here is not of concern to me. What is of concern to me is that you've pointed out that Al-Biruni's measuring an apparent horizon, so he's not got a geometric value from that then.
No, not even one word.
Yeah, that's all you can do is bleat about how many words you get. You can't respond, can you, scaredy cat? I'm pointing out that apparent horizon's not geometric, and you're scared.
3 words.
Yeah, you're scared. Scaredy cat hasn't got a geometric horizon.
Word now. I'm down to 0 words. Oh.
No, we're hearing you saying how many words you get each time. We're hearing you not respond to me pointing out that he's not deriving geometry from an apparent horizon.
I'm trying to respond, but I can't.
Well, we're hearing you telling us that you're trying to respond, but you're not responding to the fact he hasn't got a geometric value from an apparent horizon because you can't get that.
2 words.
Yeah, that's another repetition of how many words you're getting, rather than you pummeling the fact that he can't derive geometry from an apparent location by your standards and your definition that apparent is not geometric.
One word, 2 words.
Yeah, that's another response about how many words he's got, rather than addressing the argument. Scared of the argument, only addresses how many words he gets.
2 words.
Yeah, that's all he's ever going to address. A bit like calling me scared. Yeah, I'll tell you this, little man. I'm not scared to point out that he hasn't got a geometric value when he's measuring an apparent location. He's not going to get within 5% of it because we can't see it. I'm not scared. I'm destroying a globe, Faith, you hold.
1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Oh, I've got 4
Sorry,
words.
let's just establish with Rumpus on mute if he's not listening to me again, same as yesterday. Anybody in Discord? Did he listen to any of my rebuttal? Was he too scared? Did he talk through every bit of it so he couldn't hear it, so he didn't have to respond to it?
Do you know the answer to that?
No, I want you to tell me, Neil.
All he did was say 3 words, 4 words, 2 words.
You talked through the entire
So
thing.
like the last time we got to this concluding point, he called me scaredy cat, And on this occasion, I've said I'm not scared to discuss the fact that you cannot derive geometry from a horizon he defines as not geometric. That would be apparent. Now, that's an impossibility that he cannot square. And he's so terrified to actually even listen to me point it out that he'll say, 1 word, 2 word, 1 word, testing 1, 2, 3, 1 word, 2 word, 3 words, 1 word, 2 word, continuously, so he doesn't have to listen to it. It's the only tactic when you've lost. So I'll summarise, not with Rumpus saying 1 word, 2 word, 3 words, because I've heard everything he's got to say, as has the audience. When he got given a chance to rebut what I claimed, which is you cannot, this is a fact, something Rumpus will never get around. Fact, you can't derive geometry, as is claimed Al-Biruni did, from something he can't see. Now, according to Rumpus and every fundie on this circuit, we cannot see a geometric horizon. So you're not going to get within 5% of it. You're not going to derive an R from it, precisely what Al-Biruni is claimed to do. Now, Rumpus cannot address this. He's lost. So scaredy cat, I only get 3 words is the only response we'll ever get from him. You don't have a geometric horizon. What you've got, though, is an imaginary tangent to a point you can't see. Because here we are with AB Science's explanation for this little problem, with a location of a geometric horizon, but his line of sight being bent like a donkey dick to an apparent horizon. 2 separate things. Now, according to Rumpus, Al-Biruni was measuring the second one, the apparent one, the one that isn't geometric. So he's never going to derive an R value from it, and there's no way round it. Oh, well, other than calling me a scaredy cat and moaning about how many words you've got in while I point this out over and over and over again. You haven't got a geometric horizon, fundies. You, fundies with a globe belief. You need a geometric horizon. Your entire religion is based on it. Anyone want to add anything before I round out the live show and ask everyone watching in the premiering stream to stay tuned?
I would just love for Rumpus to tell us how Al-Biruni calculated within 5% of a geometric horizon, not being that he never saw the geometric horizon. We could find that out. That'd be great. That's it.
I think he was trying to tell us that they don't really need his attempt to prove R anymore. They just presuppose it, but he never got to saying it.
Can I ask a question? This is a very important question. From the geometric horizon that's supposed to be there and the apparent horizon in the black swan, what is the percentage difference in that? Does anyone know? Someone calculate that?
Oh, it's enormous. I don't know about percentage, but what I do know is that if you calculate the assumption of a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon when calculating the black swan image, you end up with a radius value that would give you a circumference of an Earth that is the equivalent of the orbital path of the moon in the heliocentric bullshit world of a sphere Earth in a vacuum. So you'd have an absolutely enormous sphere if you calculated that to be a physical sphere edge. Now, as a result of that, Paul, their rebuttal to that, Paul, is to say we do not see the geometric horizon. And on screen now we have Al-Biruni's claimed measurement to C, which is the geometric horizon which he derived R from, based on his dip angle measurement, utilising an imaginary horizon drawn 90 degrees to his zenith at A. So based on the dip between an imaginary horizon and C, the geometric horizon to give him an R value, he is absolutely without question assuming that he is measuring a physical, geometric, sphere edge horizon. The very same horizon that we are being told by the people here who debate that we live on a globe, we cannot see. Ergo, Al-Biruni could not measure a geometric horizon to give him an R value because it could not be seen. We cannot further to that come within 5% of a geometric horizon because we cannot see it. And with that, I'll say, if you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream or Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
What evidence did he have to back this pre-assumption?
Well, you just
Good show.
Can anyone else give me anything?
Nice to see Rumpus.
8 foot.
Nice to see Rumpus being a scaredy cat.
Observer height 3.46 miles. A geometric horizon would be at, because it's 1.225 times the height of the observer in feet. So we should see a horizon that's geometric at 3.46 miles. We do not see this, right? We see a 10-mile horizon, for instance. Explain how the apparent horizon and the real geometric horizon, the geometric horizon being 3.46 miles, and then the apparent horizon being 10 miles. How is that a 5% differential? Rumpus?
It isn't. But they say we don't see the geometric horizon. It's not a demarcation between sky and land and sea, which is what a horizon is. They say it doesn't demarcate land, sea, and sky. It's an arbitrary position in the ocean that's not visible, can't be measured, but yet they measure it with Al-Biruni's measurement on screen according to Al-Biruni to derive an R value, which they'll then bend the horizon with this R value and terrestrial, otherwise known as standard refraction. So it's the biggest circle jerk of them all, because we can't see the very thing that they're claiming to measure.
So why the hell do they call it a horizon?
Deafened himself.
It derives from the word horizontal, doesn't it?
Crack villain. I think the point is that Al-Biruni wasn't 8 foot high. He was higher.
Mm.
The word
Hence
horizon
the
derives from
5%.
the word horizontal, doesn't it? Horizontal.
Yeah, it does.
Horizontal meaning curved?
Pardon?
Did you just say, who am I talking to right now? Who addressed me?
No, I just said that like the 5% comes from the Al-Biruni thing, and it's not taken from 8 foot observer height, I guess.
Yeah, but Rumpus just stated clearly that he is no longer going by Al-Biruni and that they have more advanced techniques and measurements to date now, right? And that still he asserted the 5% differential between the apparent and the geometric horizon, that it's negligible, right? At best. So I'm going on with his claim.
1 second there.
That is all.
I have to
And
just clear something up
horizon
there, sorry.
means what?
Photograph that lad was referencing is not from 8 foot, it's from 1 foot. That's a different one. There's two of them. The first one that was being referenced was from 1 foot, not from 8 foot.
Yeah, I thought that we were talking about other, but okay.
I think you're missing what Crackle was saying. What Crackle is saying is that they're saying that they're, in fact, Rumpus said it 2 days ago. He says they're very close. Okay, well, how close? Well, 5%. Oh, so then if you take the black swan image at 1.22 miles and do the math of 5%, Crackle said, okay, so then it should be at 3.46 miles. But how can we see it past the second platform at over 10 miles? So even in that, they lose.
Yeah,
That's what I
because it's
heard.
not a 5%.
I would say thank you very much.
No.
Yeah, but
Thank you very much.
what initiated Al-Biruni's investigation in the first place? This is what I want to know, because this is important. Because what led to him going up to the top of this mountain in Nandana and taking this supposed dip angle with the astrolabe? Why did he do that? If he existed and if he did it, why did he do it? What led to that?
I could answer that.
What would lead someone to that?
I could answer that.
Okay.
He presupposed and begged the question that we lived on a sphere to begin with. So he went up there to prove it somehow. Hang on, he went up there to prove it somehow.
No,
And
he went up
this
to
is
no. That's not right. He went up to measure radius. That's where he went. He's going to derive the radius. That's what he's doing. He's measuring R. That's what his purpose in this dip angle measurement is. However, why would he be under the assumption that he can even acquire an R value for a sphere? Well, you've obviously got Aristarchus saying it's a sphere. So it's Aristarchus, Earth's a sphere. Well, what's the measurement? What's the radius? Would be Al-Biruni's then next step in the chronology. Is that right word?
Chronology, yeah.
Yeah, chronologically.
Yeah, but there's a problem with that as well. There's a problem with that. There's a big problem there, and that is that the first or the oldest known globe, and the oldest known globe that can even be found, that is supposed to reference where we supposedly live, is from 1492. Al-Biruni was from the 11th century, and Aristarchus and I can't remember his name now, is from before that. So there is no Greek globes. There's no globes from back in Aristarchus' time. There is nothing. There's nothing before 1492. Nothing.
Yeah, but sticks have been around for a long time.
Oh yeah, but the sticks and shadows.
When was Pythagoras, guys? When was Pythagoras?
Pythagoras. He's old. I'm not sure when Pythagoras was. He's back in the. He's back before Al-Biruni, though, isn't he?
Yeah.
95 BC.
95 BC.
There you go.
So.
Okay, well, can I ask you a question about this?
Where are all the globes that are supposed to be? Where is all these globes? I mean, the Greeks were great stonemasons, not Freemasons. They were stonemasons. So they could make anything with stone. They proved. So where are their globes?
Well,
the oldest known globe is 1492.
Your question was, what was Al-Biruni going up there to do, and why did he think it was a sphere? And if prior to that everyone is saying, hey, look at the luminaries in the sky, they look round, so we must be round. And then if Aristarchus does the two stick things, and
no, Aristarchus observed an eclipse.
Go on, Nathan.
Aristarchus is the one that assumed that Earth was a sphere based on shadows on lights in the sky, and then you're thinking of Aristophanes when you talk about sticks and shadows.
Gotcha. But the whole point I'm trying to make,
they're looking at the
whole point I'm trying to make is, by the time Al-Biruni went up there, what was he thinking the Earth was?
A sphere.
He's looking for a radius.
Well, we didn't
What's he
have
looking
any
for?
kind of telescope. Yeah, but there was no telescopes or anything until 1610.
No, I'm not talking about instruments. No, I'm not talking about
I'm just saying, like. Yeah, but the only globes in the sky that he could have seen is the sun and the moon. Everything else is just lights.
What objects have a radius?
And Pythagoras was before Al-Biruni, was he not? So maybe he had listened to Pythagoras a little bit as well.
Well, he applied Pythagoras' formula. Hold on, that's what he applied. So yeah, chronologically, he must be before him. He can't apply it before it exists. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're on.
No, I just want to make sure people understood that.
Zero reference to a globe. There's zero physical reference to a globe before 1492. Zero. So there is no evidence that Pythagoras existed and did this before 1492. There's no evidence that Al-Biruni was around before 1492. all this stuff is all conjecture. 1492 was when the oldest known globe is from 1492.
Oh
There's
God,
no
I'm gonna have to
Greek
do this to you.
globes,
I'm sorry. You're
no
using.
Chinese globes.
Sorry, hold on, Brian. You're using a logical fallacy called denying the antecedent, which is to say that if you've got globes existing at the same time as these individuals, then they are mutually inclusive. But because you can't find them together at the same time, they're not. They're mutually exclusive. That's called denying the antecedent. Sorry, formal logical fallacy.
Okay, but can you understand where I'm coming from with it? I'm looking for what actual evidence is there that Al-Biruni, what it drove Al-Biruni's investigation into this supposed, I mean, you could say Aristarchus and Pythagoras, but we don't have anything physical to go by before 1492.
Well, maybe it was an agenda. Maybe is that what you're getting at?
He can just hold on. What he's getting at is just almost. Hold on, Paul. He's almost just made it as a statement. So just make it as a statement. You haven't got any evidence beyond that point that would back it in terms of a physical artifact. That's a statement you can make that's factually accurate, rather than the conjecture of the two, which you put into a denying the antecedent formal logical fallacy. But if you can just make it as a statement of fact, which is to say, prior to this point, I don't want to do it for you. You do it. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, Nathan, yeah, you're right. Before 1492, there was no physical evidence of anything referencing globe Earth that can be found.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Paul, did you want to add something? And then crack villain.
Yeah. It's just a real quick comment. Actually, so going along the lines Brian is going. What historical evidence that they use to say any of this happened in reality? Christians get dinged because the historical reliability of the Gospels is in question. What about the historical reliability of all these stories about all these individuals that did all this stuff? I think it's going to what Brian's saying. What's your documental evidence? Whether you give me a document, give us something, stone tablet, something to say that these guys did this.
Okay, what you're describing is primary source research. So yeah, this is something that John Le Bon covers quite extensively in terms of his research methods, in terms of determining whether or not something's actually real, which is primary source research.
Yep, indeed.
It's a historical standard. So obviously there's varying standards. Historical standard, that would be that, as opposed to a scientific standard or a mathematical standard.
Talk a little bit about the hypocrisy, if that's okay.
Hold on, just 1 second. Okay. Did you want to add anything to the end of that, Paul? And then we'll move on to keep forgetting your name, crack villain.
No, that's it. I mean, just what's the historical evidence for it? If there's none, then how can it be trustworthy?
Go ahead, crack villain.
Well, I'd just like to actually add in that it's pretty hypocritical of the heliocentric proponents, right? That they would state, and when we actually look at flat Earth videos, for instance, on YouTube, it states a archaic belief system, for instance, that is very, very old, and old is thus denoted as archaic. But when we look into the idea of, let's say, discovering matter being the thing that essentially led on to, what we have now, our so-called cosmology within inside of the heliocentric model, right? Matter forming out of nothing, out of a big bang, for instance, in a vacuum. To say that it's archaic is ridiculous because we have examples, regardless of we want to say the credibility of these are, as previously just stated, right? But when we talk about, let's say, the Greeks, 400 BC, that was 2,420 years ago. The Greeks, Democritus and Epicurus, teach that matter consists of small, hard, invisible particles called atoms, which would be what? Theology. It has to be theology because they had no apparatus to ascertain this as fact, right? For hundreds of years, people believe Aristotle's theory that there are 4 basic elements: earth, fire, air, and water, right? That consist of matter. And in 300 BC, Greek philosophers, Plato and Aristotle, believed that you can always go on cutting matter into smaller and smaller pieces. And this goes all the way forward to, I believe, masonry, obviously skilled craft workers such as miners, cloth dryers, pottery makers, all these experts in these manufacturing techniques, for instance, right? But the point is to state that it is archaic, right? When at the actual point of the beginning of the, idea of matter, and then thus matter forming into magical balls in space, people at 400 BC, 2,420 years ago, people believed the earth was flat back then, right? But yet you had the Greeks, and this is their starting point for discovering matter, Democritus and Epicurus, teaching that matter consists of small, hard, invisible particles called atoms. So it's just a little bit hypocritical to call it archaic, unless they want to prescribe archaic also to their own origins of what they believe, and these constitutes of what these planets are made up of.
Okay, I agree with everything you said, with only one minor correction. So the first thing you opened up with was the wiki entry that goes underneath flat Earth videos, but you paraphrased it because they specifically reference an archaic. Bear with me, mate. They specifically reference an archaic belief in models, a flat Earth model. That's what it says underneath our videos. And when I first read it, I was like, I've got no issue with that. The flat Earth that is punted by, I don't want to say it's by YouTube, but would be inadvertently perpetuated by YouTube, is one of discs flying up at 9.8 meters per second as per the Flat Earth Society. And that model, or indeed any archaic flat Earth pizza model, would be an archaic way of viewing things if you reify that into existence. So in many ways, I agree with the Wikipedia entry when it describes flat Earth, but that's not what I mean when I say flat Earth. The Earth is obviously and observably flat, a point that's agreed upon by both sides. Example, Neil deGrasse Tyson, you cannot see the curve of the Earth, in parentheses, when he makes you reify the edge into the horizon from 120,000 feet. Well, he's conceding that that stuff is flat. It looks flat, we observe it as flat, we experience it as flat. So that's the standard that we all work from, and when they insert their R value, they're starting with the flat mathematics, or Euclidean geometry, in the case of the surveyors, but they're starting with the flat premise and then inserting an R value. So ultimately speaking, the deviation that is put upon us that some people might want to defend, and I don't think you are, you've just missed out that bit, that subtle detail in the wiki entry under our videos, which is it's an archaic belief in a model. And we say models are pseudoscience, and it's factually accurate. They are. You can't reify yourself into being on a pizza disc flying up through a sky vacuum, or a pizza disc with a dome. You know, all these models are all farcical, just like the globe model. We don't live on a model. The map is not the terrain.
Amen. I agree with you.
The map shows the terrain accurately. Like, it turns pictures the terrain.
Yeah, but
that's
it's not the terrain, though, right?
That's what a map is for. Like, that's the definition of a map.
Yeah, that's nice.
The mathematical definition of a map. Do you know that? Do you know that definition?
Yeah, fair enough. And?
What's the definition of reification fallacy, Master?
If we agree that maps are maps, and maps are not fake, like generally the outline of continents and the land masses and how they are.
And Master, can you speak a little bit clearer?
If we agreed that maps are maps, then you already got a problem with your flat Earth premise.
We don't have a... hold on. So you're saying maps are just maps, they're just mathematical, but you've got a problem with your mathematical reification that I haven't asserted?
You have asserted that there's some problem that in the way that maps are constructed.
No, the map is not the terrain. That's the very definition of a reification fallacy.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Can you show me a map that shows the anthill in my backyard that accurately represents the anthill in my backyard? Can you please show me that map?
The map is only a representation.
Gosh, this is simple.
Representation
Hold on, let 10th have a go. Go on, 10th. You've just said this is simple. Go ahead.
This is simple. A painting. I've been to France, the Louvre. I saw the Mona Lisa. It's a representation of the Mona Lisa. It's a painting. It's not Mona Lisa.
Right. Well, I can give an analogy that is more real in terms of this argument. So, is everyone aware of a program called Stellarium?
Yes.
Okay. So now Stellarium is a very good piece of software, and you can look at the stars, and you can move the camera around, and it very, very accurately represents what we see in our night sky. Would we all agree with that, first and foremost?
Yeah, it looks similar.
Pretty good. Okay. Now the question I'm going to ask, feel free to answer it, all of you or none of you, I don't care. Is the ground I am actually standing on in Stellarium?
No.
Are you in Stellarium?
No, it's a computer program, Arwin.
Oh, right. Well, no, then.
So no matter how accurate we make Stellarium, it will never be the ground beneath my feet or the stars above my head.
You're not real on that grounds.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I'm not hearing your actual voice. I'm hearing sound waves that are generated by my speaker.
I couldn't give a shit. Shut up. Someone stick him on server mute before he becomes annoying. Don't care about your technical issue while I detail how models aren't reality. So shut up if you can't sort your technical issues out with. Piss off. Right. So Stellarium is never going to have the ground beneath my feet. That's an impossibility. It's just a model. And it might have issues. It might be really accurate, but it's never actually the ground beneath my feet. Likewise, a representation of a ball Earth in a vacuum, the heliocentric model, is never going to be the ground beneath my feet. I'm never going to be standing on that model. Now, that model represents the world as spherical. It's not the ground beneath my feet. The map is not the terrain. That's a reification fallacy. It's just a way of conceptualizing things. Doesn't mean it's real. Now, for all you believers in globe Earth, you have reified a model. It's very clearly defined to you when you were taught about it. It's the heliocentric model, not the ground beneath your feet. Doesn't matter how well it represents it in your belief that you're on a sphere, you're not. It's just a model.
And what type of model is that?
All maps are just... Sorry, Kiwi.
What type of model is that anyway? What model are they talking about?
A combination of whichever aspect that they are arguing about needs to be dealt with. So if they happen to be dealing with a picture of something, it'll be the curve Earth maths. If it happens to be something about the topography itself, it'll be Google Earth. If it happens to be something about the sky, it might actually be Stellarium. It depends on whatever aspect of whatever part of the model they need to represent. They'll pick out something that's already got the globe Earth engineered into it and say that is their model. In reality, they don't actually have a model of the heliocentric system. There isn't one.
They don't know what one is.
Maybe
They keep on saying model,
if he's got a model.
computer model. What are you talking about? Do you know there's 25? According to Stanford, there's 25 models in science, right? Which is nonsensical. So which one is it? That's what I want to know. Which one are they talking about? And then they wind up the article saying that there remains significant lacunas in our understanding of what models are and how they work. Do you know what lacunas mean?
Like a massive gaping void I asked you last time.
This is preposterous. And if you're claiming a scientific model, but you have to have experimental validation. So guess what you're going to hear? Natural phenomena, please.
Yep.
Nah, I think they were out for a geometrical or map-based model.
There you go, Narwin. Thank you, QE.
Yeah, Q is right, but in this case, it was about a 3D model, so it was more about geometrics.
The reason they got
Yes,
so
ma'am.
many lacunas is because they didn't apply real methods to the project.
I knew it was coming, Tim. I knew it.
Okay.
It's right there, lacuna matata.
Please say I was the only one who got it too.
I'm with you, Dr. Professor. Please stop. Please.
I try to avoid understanding 10th man's jokes.
I'm not lying.
Oh, jeez.
Please stop.
Oh, that's Travis.
Like,
Good to hear your voice. Hey, Travis.
Hello, hello, hello. What up?
Hello. Very nice to have
What up,
you.
Trav?
Before we run out, just before the moment passes, plug your show, plug everything, man. Plug it.
Yeah, so The Plain Truth is my channel, PLANE, and I just started up my new copy-sodes again for this year, so I have 2 episodes this week, and I missed one today because I had to get out of that and do something, but yeah, I've got tons of footage. If you guys want to check my channel out, that'd be great.
So that's PLANE Truth. That's your YouTube channel,
That's right.
so check him out. That's Travis's
Yeah,
channel.
and you know what? Actually, because it's going to get algorithmed way down. For some reason, there's a golf tutor channel that comes up before, and you got to scroll forever. So if you put karaoke, or if you put the Channel Islands with your search, you'll get my videos.
Channel Islands. Oh, now you've confused me. You're definitely going to be confusing my audience.
Yeah, well, have I got to type in? I disconnected.
If you just type in The Plain Truth and then add the word karaoke,
okay,
that will narrow down the algorithms. Otherwise, you're going to have to scroll forever until you find my channel. But if you put in that keyword, it's a sure win. Sure way to get in.
Yeah, I found it straight away. You're right.
Cool. So The Plain Truth, and then add the word karaoke. You'll find your way to his channel immediately. Excellent. Thank you for giving clarity.
Thanks for asking.
You still have the Mona Lisa as your profile, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Has it still got the mask, or is that? I don't know. What's the score with that? Are we all being told to stay at home still? What's going on? I don't watch the news. I don't know what's going on.
No, I took the mask off.
Okay.
I went really over the top, and I went out and bought OM90 nuclear biochemical masks with nuclear biochemical filters, and screwed them in and went to Tesco's with a nuclear biohazard suit with carbon deactivated charcoal in between it with the boots and the gloves, and people looked at me like I was sort of crazy. And I haven't actually seen anyone wear a mask in my area since, to be honest. I feel like I sort of fucking freaked them out.
That's nice. Have you got a picture? Did you get a picture of it?
Oh, I've got a picture. I'll share a picture if you wish. On
Yeah,
the live
please.
stream
Can someone, if you
It
still get
hasn't got
Discord,
If you want to send it to me, Crack, and I'll post it in Master B. Send it to me.
I can post it in a live stream.
Actually, since Travis is on here, Travis, didn't you discover that potentially that the atmosphere can magnify things? Did you discover that?
I wouldn't say that I discovered it, because Rob Skiba was talking about that stuff with his demonstrations that he did with that magnifying screen that he did. But I will say that I have captured it and observed it. The atmosphere undoubtedly is a magnifying lens.
Travis, what are you doing with the Channel Islands?
Before we move on to that, what were the ramifications of that on your observation? What's the ramifications?
Okay, hold on. I had 10th Man ask a question real quick. What did you ask, 10th?
Why don't you finish with Paul and then answer my question, which was, what are you doing with the Channel Islands?
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead, Paul. Say your question now.
What are the ramifications for the audience of if the atmosphere is magnifying, or the atmosphere is magnifying things that you see? What are the ramifications of that?
Okay, so
can I suggest?
Hold on. I want to hear the answer. That was an excellent question, Paul. Thank you so much. You're right.
Yeah. It's a great question. I hope I give you a great answer. We've all heard Nathan go through his description. We look and we see, right? We look and we see. I see a lighthouse. It's right there in front of me. So what we simply understand about the black swan is that the distant horizon is simply revealed to be there, right? It's always there. When you can't see it, is because the refraction that's in the air is causing the obstruction. Now, there are multiple effects happening at once. Okay, there is not just one effect. You do not just simply have towering. You don't just simply have stooping. You don't just it's everything is happening at so many different levels on that XYZ axes, right? So when I'm looking out over the Anacapa Islands, for instance, I can have the lighthouse look like it's 3 miles away from me. It's huge. Looks like it's right there. And then within a matter of 30 minutes, it can be so far away and so tiny, you can't even see that there's a lighthouse there. So if you can imagine that that's the scale that's sliding forward and back, towards you and back. Not only that, so that you have distance, right? That distance makes it look like the lighthouse and the island are far away, but then the next day it looks like it's real close up. Well, what also is happening with the water across which you are looking, that water is rising up and lowering down along with that same sliding scale. So that it looks like in one image that you're close to the water and low down, or it looks like you're high up above the water and far away, but you're in the same spot that you were the day before. You haven't moved. So that magnification, that refraction that happens is three-dimensional. It's a sliding scale that is crazy, absolutely just beautiful crazy. I don't know if that answers your question, Paul.
Is there an example that I can put up? So I've got your channel playing now, but I've got
Oh yeah. I don't know that I have something that you can specifically go to that would have that.
Or if you have a video that I can put on screen that's got Anacapa Island on it, then.
Well, I mean, you're just going to see different stuff. It's not that I'm going to be addressing this particular issue. Some of the stuff that I put up early on from 2018, if you go back to, if you can see the playlist at all, if there's a 2018 date on it and there's Anacapa, I think maybe I say something like ever changing. If you see one of the titles that says ever changing Anacapa, that one will show you some crazy shit. But I can't
could
think
you ask
of
the question again?
So now going back to so that's a little bit of answering your question now, 10th Man, is that I go out and I capture the effects of what I have called the Aether Band on the distant objects, which are the platforms, the G platforms, the H platforms, the Channel Islands. And I have some fantastic inferior mirages, superior mirages, incredible Fata Morganas. The one thing that I did capture with a Fata Morgana. Okay, so here you guys are. I'm geeking out, so I apologize. So I've made the statement on my show that I believe that the superior mirage has been misidentified. Okay, it's mislabeled. I'm going to say it this way. I'm pretty sure that all of the miraging that we see is always an inferior mirage. It's just a different degree. So there is no superior mirage. Even the Fata Morgana isn't a superior mirage. So I've got
I can show evidence of a superior mirage.
I know that you can, but I'm challenging the title that we give to it. So anyway, going back to the platform that I have a platform that looks like it's towering. Okay, so that means that it's stretching up, right? You have the horizon below it, and you have the stretching up of the platform. So, and then you have the top of the platform. So you can see the very top of the platform. that looks a little bit normal, but everything in between the top of the platform and the water is completely distorted and stretched. So you're not looking at the physical dimensions of the platform. The question is, where is that very top of the platform? Has it been optically refracted up so that it's not really up that high? Right? Or, where is it? Where would you put it if you could then overlay the actual dimensions and scale it correctly? What would it look like? Well, the time lapse that I have, everything above the water and below the top of the platform disappears and becomes water, 100% water. So if you look at the image at the very beginning, you're looking at a towering platform with the horizon below it. At the end of the image, the horizon has now risen up all the way to where the top of the platform was, and you have no more towering. You have water. And in my video, I made the claim that what we see with the towering, that is the inferior mirage that is blocking the water that's actually behind it. And then when the inferior mirage disappears, it shows you what's actually behind it, which is the water. So the water just continues to extend into the distance. That's not too abstract. I'll stop talking.
I can show evidence of a superior mirage. I know you won't be able to see it, Travis, unless you join the Hangout. But Nathan's audience will if he's prepared to screen share. Paul, would you mind asking your question again and let me answer it?
What are the ramifications if the Earth is acting like a magnifying lens? What is the ramification? What is the effect? What do you see? What's the visualization of that?
If the Earth's if the sun is a local artifact, whatever it might be it physical or not, when the ballers correctly point out that it doesn't appear to change its angular size, even though there is evidence that shows that it does actually change its angular size, although it's minuscule, if the atmosphere is magnifying stuff, then you can imagine that a sun that will be departing and getting smaller as it gets lower in the sky is getting magnified. So it would appear as though it's not actually getting smaller. And the reason for why I say this is if you go up to high altitude balloon footage and look at how small the sun and the moon look, they look like pinpricks in the sky. But to us on the ground, they look massive. Well, it's not consistent with the footage from high altitude. So if the sun is local and it's disappearing like away into the distance, and it should get smaller, if the atmosphere is magnifying, that seems to be correcting for the lack of apparent reduction. Because if it's being magnified, it's maintaining its size in a almost perfect balance. Like 40%, 40 times bigger than the moon and 40 times further away. They tell you the sun is. It's almost as if it's 40 times perfectly magnified as a function of the 40% distance that it's traveling. It's bizarre, but if the atmosphere is magnifying, that's where the missing angular size is in the sun reduction. And the other thing was just one.
Tony, what did you mean by joining the Hangout? What are you talking about? Because I'm in the after show Discord. So what are you talking about?
I can send you the link if you want to see. Do you want me to send you? Oh, I can't. I can send it to you on Think if you want.
Put it in Skype. Can you do it in Skype?
He's still in Master B. If he's still in Master B,
hold on. More importantly, can you just pop it on screen, Anthony? Worry about admin of getting it. We will get it to you, Travis. But in the meantime, we're obviously recording this, so if Anthony can present his screen and show what he's going to show, that'll be better.
Yeah. So, and if you want to join quickly, Travis, the link's in the Master B chat. I'm just trying to remember how to do it. Where is it?
And then real quick after that, Nathan posted Crack Villain's picture in Ballbusters.
Okay.
Or Master B, one of them.
Okay, thanks.
Are you seeing this, Nathan?
Yeah, as is the audience now.
Okay, so I'm going to show you what should be seen without this effect that we're going to talk about, superior mirage. And look at the land we're going to be looking at. We've got the two mountain tops coming down, and then it tapers off into the water, and then it appears that the land stops. And then there's a gap where there is no land. And then as we go across the image, you'll see that there is more land to the right, but there is a big gap of water in the middle. Now, this land here is real world land, but it appears to be floating. Now, in the superior mirage footage, Let me get back out of this. So stop that. Which is this one.
Did you say you put the link somewhere, Tony? I don't see it.
It's in the master chat. It's the main link for the Hangout. But now you'll see the footage from the land, which in a sec you'll see. Bear with me. There it is. So there's the land tapering off. It's going to come down to a point like it did before, where it drops into the water. But rather than the water being apparent, there for some reason seems to be a mirage in the point where there should be water. Water should be there. There is land, or what appears to be mirage of a land. Now, what I'll do here is I'll just stop it there, because this bit's really odd. Because this land that's present at the top of the image should be on this lower line here. I have no explanation for why it's not where it should be. But this, I would say, is a superior mirage, because the land drops off into the water. It should stop here. The water's the hard line underneath. If you follow the water line across as we get across to the other side, you'll see where the land should be. But for some reason, it's being presented above. Like I say, I can't explain this, and I'm not trying to explain.
Anthony,
it.
is that not
Holy shit?
Sorry,
Is there a point?
Is that not further back?
What is the point?
Travis said that he thinks that there's
My
no such thing as a superior mirage.
What's the? I'm sorry, somebody stepped on you. Go ahead.
Travis said he doesn't think there's any such thing as superior mirage, but I've got evidence that is supporting superior mirage, because land is being presented on top of itself, and it's clearly optical. It's not real. That land really isn't there. It's below. But I can't explain it. It's just something I've seen.
No, that's incorrect, Tony. That's incorrect. You're looking at the land where it's at.
I'm not. Look. This is where the land drops off into the water.
Yeah, to me it looks like the land is further away, Anthony. It looks
The
like
land
that
should,
land.
the land should be on this dark line here, Travis. Because on the previous picture, that's where the land would sit. But if you follow this dark line across, keep your eye on it. When I get to the next side of it, for some reason, it's not there. It's there. But I don't know why. I can't explain it. It's a superior mirage. But ballers would argue that it's looming. Well, it's not looming. It's always there, but for some reason it's displaced. But that is what I would say would be a superior mirage. But then again, other people would say it's not inverted upside down above it. So I don't know, but it's definitely in the wrong place. I can say that much with certainty.
I think I heard Travis say that. I think I heard Travis say when he was addressing the Channel Islands that superior mirages in his studies are really inferior mirages in a different degree.
That's right.
Well, I'm not sure what they are, but there's some spooky stuff that happens at the horizon, and there is evidence that supports superior mirages. Or actually,
well, the whole thing that underlies the superior mirage in the ball model is the superior mirage is behind the curve. The reason why it is lifted up, right? Because the inferior mirage, the image is below. The superior mirage, the image is above. Why does it have to be above? Why? Because they believe it's too far away, therefore it's over the curve. So that's why in the one physics website with mirages, they put looming and superior mirage together, because both looming and superior mirage present an object which should be out of your line of sight, and it lifts it up. Okay, so the reason why
I don't think so, Travis. I don't.
No, that's in their definition. That's the definition within their paradigm. I debunked that definition.
Okay.
Anyway, my point is that when you look out and you see that landmass wherever it's at, we're seeing just simply into the distance, and that landmass can depending on the refraction of the day, that landmass can look closer to us. It can look farther away. It can be.
What type of refraction are you using?
I don't really nail myself down with that. I just generally say we've got a shit ton of refraction going on right now.
Well, you can't say refraction without getting highly specific. We don't do do ambiguous here. We do specificity.
Okay, great. Have fun.
We will. Bye.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to say something there. What Travis said about the looming and the superior mirage being the same coming up from behind the curve, that's not the case. For a start, looming, just so QE, if you're still there, I said in a presentation on Ranties even before you said it, that I showed photographs of what looming is according to Google, and I said it was just the sky mirroring onto the water, causing the effect, and I showed the actual horizon behind the boats. So I am totally in accordance with you with that. So I'm not going against that. What I was saying was that the superior mirage, that can happen. You don't need to. I never heard a claim that happens behind the curve. That's coming up from behind the curve. I've never heard this claim. Because even Ranty has photographs of superior mirage within what you can actually visibly see.
Is there a point? I'm struggling to. You've been going on. How long has this been going on?
No while now. Yeah, I don't really understand the point either, QE. I think the issue is when we're arguing against these globers about refraction, what we should really start to do is distinguish the effects of the refraction. And then we should look at the values of those refractions in terms of what they're capable of doing. Let's say they talk about looming. Let's say they talk about towering. Then let's look at examples of it. And if these examples simply do not fit, right? They do not fit up what we expect to see based on previous multiple observations of those effects of refraction, then we can start to toss their arguments out for refraction, for instance. I think that's a valid point to be made. But like, what point are we actually establishing here at the moment? I'm confused as well as QE is. I'll be honest.
So we had many points that we're addressing, and if you come in at the end of one and someone jumps to the first one, that's where the confusion lies. Anthony brought up the fact that the sun and the moon don't change in size, blah, blah, blah. So that got thrown in there. And Travis was talking about something else entirely.
Well, and to bring it back on point, also, I asked the question about magnification. Rob Skiba showed in his demonstration, which Travis was pointing to, that things would seem to sync with magnification. Syncing technically is a form of refraction, so ultimately you could say if the things are being magnified by the atmosphere, then it would cause things to sink behind the horizon, which is an effect of refraction.
Sounds like boats going over the curve, huh?
Behind an apparent horizon, right?
I'd like to pick some things up here. In chat, there's a whole bunch of numpty clowns, aka ballers, that think that natural laws are experimentally validated. Okay? See, natural laws describe the whats and the ises. The scientific method only deals with how and why questions, cause and effect questions. Do you get it? You can't cause and effect an actual natural law. It's non sequitur. So you can't have an experiment with natural laws. Follow numpties, Mr. Neutrino Lover. Friggin' Fermi Lab guy doesn't even know. He can't even formulate a hypothesis. For goodness sakes.
Jeez, even I knew that.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!